Welcome. If you remember, we had been talking about the ancient India. We discussed prehistory, we discussed Indus Valley civilization, then we discussed the Vedic periods, the early Vedic period and the later Vedic period. I told you how things were moving around. People, leaving the Indus Valley at the side. Then we have a new set of people coming to India, the Aryans. They came through the Khyber Pass. They first settled in the Indus Valley area. There we have the early Vedic age and the later Vedic age. Then I told you, early Vedic age, sorry. Then I told you they started moving to the Gangetic plains. That's where we have the later Vedic age, right? It was Jan, then it became Janpada. Wherever people were stepping, the death or area came in. I told you in the last lecture. Now we are looking at these things becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, blown out of proportions. These smaller cities are getting bigger, it's huge, and it's called the Mahajanapadas. That's what this lecture is about. Fine. So we are calling this lecture second urbanization. The timeline is 600 BC. If you remember, the later Vedic age had ended at 600 BC, right? The second urbanization. Why is it the second urbanization? For the very fact that Indus Valley was the first urbanization. Indus Valley is the first urbanization in this country, and then we moved into a pastoral economy because new kind of people came in. We do not exactly know how the Indus Valley civilization ended. And hence we had to start again from pastoral, then we became agricultural later Vedic age. Now we have urbanizations, bigger cities developing, right? So we are Janapadas, now we are Mahajanapadas. Mahajanapada would be a title for a city in this case, right? Like Mahanagar, kind of. Right? So talking about the lecture, what am I going to discuss? I'm going to discuss different Mahajanapadas, and we will discuss the major Mahajanapada in this, which is the Magadh, right? And there are 2-3 successors to Magadh. Once Magadh falls down, we are then going to have Sheshunath for a while, then Nandas, and then we look at some invasions during this time. That is the structure of this lecture. Fine. Let's see what this is. So Mahajanapadas. I told you people started making Janapadas, and now they are bigger and bigger. Now we have Mahajanapadas. Mahajanapadas are nothing but independent kingdoms. This is mostly a North Indian phenomenon. In South India, what is happening, we'll see it later when we are looking at the Sangam age. So most of the things we are discussing here is from a North Indian perspective. South Indian things would come up later. So these kingdoms are mostly in the north. You see, there are 16 kingdoms of 16 Mahajanapadas. The prominent ones are Magadh, Koshal, Avanti, Vriji, Kashi. Fine? The major ones. Now, if I talk about a few of these Mahajanapadas, Avanti's capital was Ujjain and its king's name was Pradyota. Not very important, just for the namesake we're doing this. Koshal is also a very important Mahajanapada. Its capital is Ayodhya and Prasenjit was the ruler. Fine. The major thing we have to look among the Mahajanapadas is Magadh, right, or Magadha, whatever, right? Magadh is from 600 BC to 450 BC. That is the timeline of the Magadha Empire. Now, what had happened is among these Mahajanapadas, Magadh would gain dominance, and then it would annex almost all these other Janapadas, creating one of the first empires in India called the Magadh Empire, right? 600 BC to 450 BC. The people of the Magadh Empire come from a dynasty called Haryanka dynasty. It is the first dynasty in India, Haryanka dynasty. And why is it that Magadh was able to overpower almost all other Mahajanapadas? The reason is fourfold, which is written here. One is they have a geographical advantage. They are almost close to Patna. In the modern space, Patna, what Patna is, it's closer to Patna, Rajagriha, that is the capital. It's a place close to Patna only. So they have this geographical advantage of having a lot of rivers. Lot of rivers means plenty of water for agriculture, so surplus is much more. You can have much more people out of agriculture because only few people, and you can have a lot more people because agrarian surplus is there. All because of that, the rivers geographical advantage they had. Second, they also had a lot of iron ore. Even if you look at iron ore mining and iron ore industries, there's a lot of iron ore industries concentrated between Jharkhand and Bihar, right? So same phenomenon did exist in ancient India also. They got a lot of iron ore, so that also helped them to dominate other regions. You know that we are in the Iron Age, right? Later Vedic was the Iron Age, if you remember. The same thing is reflected here. And rivers, alluvial soil, again agriculture, and they also had great administration. So these are the reasons why Magadh could actually overpower other Mahajanapadas, right? Now the capital was Rajagriha, I told you. Now, we're going to look at two kings actually from the Magadha Empire, two important kings. One is Bimbisara from 546 to 494 BC. He was the earlier king, and he was not exactly a person who would go for war and then kill people and then have some, like, a lot of violence unleashed and then conquer spaces. No, he had a much more pleasanter route, let's say. He had matrimonial alliances. He would marry across different kingdoms. So, I mean, in that manner, he will establish good relations with other kingdoms and also get property and whatnot through that. So that's how he expanded the Magadha Empire. He was a contemporary to Buddha and Mahavir, who Bimbisar. Also, he expanded the Magadha Empire towards the northern side and almost reached Nepal. Fine? That's mostly with Bimbisar. Now his son is Ajatashatru. Ajatashatru actually, I think, kills his father and gets the throne. So this Ajatashatru is between 494 BC and 462 BC. This guy is very different from his father. He is going for military conquest. He's going to use violence. He's going to unleash violence on his fellow Mahajanapadas and then annex almost all of them. Right? He fights Koshal, Vaishali, Vriji and annexes them. It's also said that Ajatashatru met Buddha. Right? He also held the first Buddhist council. We look at the Buddhist council in the next lecture when I'm talking about Jainism and Buddhism. So the Buddhist council is nothing but Buddhists coming from across the world coming and discussing what is the state of their religion and what should be done in their religion. That is what a Buddhist council is. The first Buddhist council was in Rajagriha and it was presided by, it was patronized by Ajatashatru. Fine. Now, he was succeeded by his son Udyayan. Udyayan is the one who is finding Patliputra. The city Patliputra, which is currently Patna in the country, is founded by Udyayan, and Patliputra would remain for a very long time in ancient India as a capital city. Right? Capital cities keep changing. If you look at the history of capital cities, it is from Rajagriha to Patna, then it will move to Kannauj, right? Then it will move to Delhi, then it will move to Delhi, and then it will move back to Calcutta because of the British, and then again back to Delhi, right? So that is the history of capital cities. So this is one of the earliest capital cities in this country, Patliputra, right? Then Magadha declines. Another empire comes in whose name is Sheshnag Empire or Sheshnag dynasty. There's nothing much to discuss here, just few words. You need to know the person called Kalashok, right? Kalashoka is the only major king in Sheshnag dynasty. It's from 412 to 344 BC. The second Buddhist council, we saw the first Buddhist council during Ajatasatru's time. The second Buddhist council in Vaishali happens during Kalashok's time in the Sheshnag Empire. That's the only thing we need to know. We'll get the details of this Buddhist council later in another lecture. Fine. After that comes a very important empire in India called Nandas. So what happens is, I think Kalashok is killed by the founder of Nanda, and then we have Nanda Empire from 344 BC to 323 BC. The most important king in Nanda Empire is Mahapadam Nanda. Mahapadam Nanda is also called Ekrat. Okay? Ekrat. One inscription, there are multiple inscriptions you will have to mark up. We are starting with the first inscription now. Hathi Gumfa inscription. It's really, it's in Odisha. It's not exactly a Nanda inscription. It is an inscription from Odisha. It is of Karvela, King Karvela from I think Kalinga dynasty is this inscription from. But it mentions Nanda. That is why we have this inscription here. King Karvel of Kalinga dynasty. So what does it say? If you go, this inscription is in that Udayagiri Khandagiri caves. If you go to Bhubaneswar, you can see these things. Right? If you go there, you can find this. Hathi Gumfa inscription. So what does it say? It says that Kalinga was conquered by Nandas. So that information that Kalinga was actually conquered by Nandas is actually got from this inscription, Hathi Gumfa inscription. Hathi means elephant, Gumfa means den. So there is a cave and there is an elephant shape around it. That is why we have a Hathi Gumfa inscription. Fine, remember that. And the wealth, they're extremely rich. Nanda Empire was extremely rich. There are a lot of elephants and whatnot. The wealth is even mentioned in South Indian texts like Ahnanuru. Ahnanuru is a Sangam text. We'll know that later when we are discussing Sangam period. But Ahnanuru mentions Nanda's wealth. Remember that. Dhananand is the last ruler. Mahapadam Nanda is one of the major rulers. Dhananand is the last ruler. He gets defeated by Mauryas. He is the one who is toppled by Chandragupta Maurya with the help of Chanakya. If you remember, long back there was I think Doordarshan serial also on Chanakya, right? Very long time ago. So actually that story is nothing but the Chandragupta Maurya teaming with Chanakya to overthrow Nanda, right? We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that story when we discuss the Mauryan Empire. So till here is exactly what we have when we look at the Mahajanapata region, Mahajanapata times, 600 BC around, right? From 600 we have almost come to 323 BC now. Look at that. I have written 600 there, but it's almost 323 now. Now a few things during this time, something else also happens. The first set of invasions come to India. First set of invasions. There are multiple invasions which will happen throughout Indian history. This is the first invasion. It's called Persian and Greek invasions. You look at 3 emperors from Persia who invaded us and 1 emperor from the Greece or Macedonia to be exact. Right? What is the Persian invasion? There is Cyrus, Darius and Xerxes. Right? These 3 people who are invaded. Cyrus is the first conqueror to enter India. Remember that the first conqueror to enter India was Cyrus, and he got Gandhar. He conquered Gandhar. Gandhar region is basically Afghanistan currently. Right? Gandhar, the Bamiyan statues and all, if you remember. Yeah. The second person is Darius. He conquered the Indus Valley at a later point in time. Third person is Xerxes. Xerxes, what he did was he took Indian soldiers to fight against the Greek. Xerxes, I think, is the guy who comes in 300. If you've seen that movie, what is his guy's name? I forgot the actor's name. The British actor. He fights against the Persian emperor who is all bangled and whatnot. That's Xerxes actually. The depiction is a bit political. It had huge issues. The way Western people have depicted the Persian emperor in a very negative light. It did have a lot of issues. Anyways, that's trivia. So what is the good thing? That's something that beneficially happened during the Persian invasion is that the Kharoshthi script developed during this time. It's actually an Indo-Iranian script, Kharoshthi script. It developed due to these invasions and due to these cultural contacts. Fine. Finally, we are looking at the Greek invasion, the most important invasion during this time. It happens in 326 BC by Alexander. Alexander is the son of Philip of Macedonia. He has started to come, he started his journey from Greece, conquering everything. He'll conquer Persia also and then come to India. While he comes to India, he has a battle close to Jerem called the Battle of Jerem, or it's also in Greek called the Battle of Hydaspes. Right? He meets Porus, the Emperor Porus, who's I think one of the governors of Nandas or something. I'm not exactly sure on that. And he fights with Porus, and Porus is defeated. But looking at the valiant and the courageous nature of Porus and the way he has fought that battle, he gives the kingdom back to Porus and he leaves after a while. That's what the Alexander invasion was in 326 BC. This would have further ramifications in the post-Maurya period. We would know it then. So that's with that I'm going to conclude this lecture. I hope you've understood. I'm just going to summarize. What did we see? We saw Mahajanapadas, different Mahajanapadas. The most major Mahajanapata, which is the Magad, and what we saw few kings in the Mughal Empire. Then it was succeeded by Sheshunath, then by Nandas. Nandas is a very important area. And during Nanda period, we had the invasions, especially the Alexander invasion happens during Nanda period. The rest is earlier. Right? There are Persian invasions and Greek invasions. Persians, we have 3 emperors, and from Greek we have Alexander the Great. Right? Thank you.